So I was brought up in around Paris, and I was brought up in a dysfunctional family where I was, abused emotionally and mentally by my mother. When I was 22, my dad disappeared from home, so he took his own life after having experienced domestic abuse. And from that moment, everything really changed for me. My whole world collapsed. I lost a friend this year, and that was very tragic. And then at the same time, there is a lot of parts of me who are excited when the challenge comes. Because for me, I really genuinely think that, and I really feel that, and this is an opportunity for me to grow deeper and to feel freer. If we are approaching challenges as a game, it feels more exciting. Me having this champion mindset is realizing that ultimately, whatever I decide to do, I am safe, and that the only fear that I've got are in my head. So I'm in control of that, and I can dissolve that, and I can choose to experience life differently.
I'm your host, Anthony Dahya, and I'm grateful that you're here watching or listening to this podcast episode. We'd love for you to share this episode with your friends, your family, and your workmates. And if you haven't already done so, please follow or subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes, and we can get this podcast out to the wider community. Today's guest is Sabrina Hall, who is a certified coach and neurolinguistic programmer, or NLP. She helps her clients stand out and magnetize their dream clients and make more money through visibility code. Sabrina, welcome to the Champion Mindset Collective podcast.
Oh, thank you so much, Anthony. What a great intro. I'm really appreciating your time here. I'm really happy to be here.
Oh, you're welcome. So, Sabrina, before we kick into some questions, I'd love to hear about your journey in life, from childhood, whatever you'd like to share with us. What were the highlights, the challenges? How did you get through those? How did you come to the point of doing what you're doing today?
I love that question, and I'm gonna try to keep everything into a nutshell. So I'm 45 years old. I'm happy to tell my age. It's fine. And I come from France, so I was brought up in around Paris, and I was brought up in a dysfunctional family where I was, abused emotionally and mentally by my mother, who's have a narcissistic condition, and so as a child growing up, it was very difficult for me. Even though we had from time to time a lot of love and cuddles, there was a lot of time where there was criticism, judgment, belittling, mocking, imitation, silent treatment, and that was happening on a daily basis. I've also seen my dad deteriorating over the years because of the abuse that he was having from my mom. And I grew up feeling invisible, feeling that I didn't matter, feeling that I didn't belong, to be quite frank. And when I was 18, I tried to take my own life. I just didn't feel like I could carry on like that anymore. And when I was 19, I decided to leave home and to start my own life. And coming to, I would say 20 years old, yeah, I went to the UK and start a new life, a new fresh life with a friend. And it was just amazing having that freedom, speaking a new language, learning the new language because my English was not that great, and meeting new people, doing different jobs, and just, trying to get by, with the little money that I had, and trying to make a living for myself. When I was 22, my dad disappeared from home, and so I came back to France to look for him. And after a few days of searching for him, we couldn't find him. And then at some point, I went to look for him one morning, and I found my dad lifeless. So he took his own life after having experienced domestic abuse. And from that moment, everything really changed for me. My whole world collapsed. I realized that, I was very protective. Funny enough, I was very protective of my mother and trying to understand her and have compassion for her. And I didn't understand fully, I think, the gravity of the abuse she was inflicting in the family. And it's only from that time that I realized, the gravity of what was happening. Um, I tried to take my whole life again. That was just before my dad passed away. Um, and yeah, from that moment, that was really a big time where I went really down and I hit rock bottom. I abused drugs and alcohol, smoking, sex, like anything was, to help me kind of cope and fill up that hole, inside me and just feeling more complete, I suppose. Obviously, we all know that this is not something that is going to make us feel complete and feel,
Mm,
happy.
mm,
Um, and then once I hit rock bottom, I started to rebuild myself again. I understood that I had the choice that either life was happening to me or or I was living life and not waiting for opportunities, but chasing the opportunities, looking at like going for them, creating my own luck, creating my own opportunities. And this is when my journey with self mastery started as well, understanding that
mm,
I had to really accept myself and love myself and believe in myself and motivate myself, and feeling a change and a shift from the inside was going to be the shift that I needed to create my external reality. And so little by little, I became more and more interested in personal development and personal growth. I read loads of books, listened to many podcasts, and I came across Tony Robbins and just found him so incredible and amazing. I was witnessing his work online. And that was just a click, like a click that was like, okay, this is what I want to do. I want to be a coach. I want to support people. I want to change and create transformation and, I mean, help people transform. And I've been coaching since 2019
mm,
and now focusing specifically on visibility and supporting heart-led leaders to become invisible unapologetically, to be brave and to create the life and business they want. And
mm,
that's just something that makes me so happy now.
mm. Wow. Thank you for sharing that. And I'm sorry to hear about your dad and your father. Yeah. Um,
Mm,
yeah, I like yourself, I've been there at 15 trying to kill myself as well because of what had went on.
mm,
And it's interesting how, you know, families and people in your family can say things and that can either change your life for the good or the bad, and how we take that on in our journey in life. Yeah, so it's you know, it needs this world needs people like us who can collectively change the world, right? Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
And I feel like the best coaches out there and the best healers or therapists are the one who have gone through something very
mm,
difficult in their life that can
mm,
really, can really support other people. And I think it's important. Yeah, you're right. Like people like you and I, after what you've gone through, and I'm really sorry for what you have gone through because I totally
mm,
understand.
mm.
Um, to see what you do now is just amazing, for people. So it's actually possible. You can actually turn your life around and you can do something great with your life.
Yeah, and it's interesting how, like all these things that happen in our life are really setups for our comeback, right? It's really setups for the purpose, the calling that we're following in our lives. And sometimes we don't really see that, at face value, but sometimes the universe has a way of like sort of slapping you in the face and going, here you go, you know. And it's taken me 24 restructures and four redundancies to come to the conclusion that what I'm meant to be doing is helping people who are going through that and haven't healed through their trauma in their life as well. Yeah.
Mm.
So first thing I'd like to ask you is, what does it mean to choose yourself as a leader and expert? How the Yeah, let's start with that. What does it mean to choose yourself as a leader or an expert?
When we, as leaders, and I consider people who are leaders as leaders in life and leaders in business, it's leading and taking initiative, with your life and your work. Um, we often want people to choose us. We often want people to see us as a leader, to see us as the go-to person, to see us as somebody they want to like or love. And the thing is that I understood during that self-mastery journey is that you can't be fully chosen by somebody if you're not choosing yourself. You can't be accepted by somebody, and you can't feel the acceptance from someone if you haven't felt it yourself and if you haven't given it to yourself. Same with love. You can't be fully loved and receive the love of someone if from within you're not feeling deserving of that. You're not feeling worthy of the love. So the work is to go from within and understanding and learning how to love yourself, how to accept yourself, how
Mm,
to believe and to trust yourself. Because when you become a person that is self assured and self secured, and you're trusting no matter what the challenges that are happening, that are coming your way, you will be able to be in a position where you will be able to, receive the love, receive the acceptance, and be seen as
mm,
the go-to expert, be seen as the person. Because if you're not believing yourself that you're the go-to person or the person to work with or to be chosen, it is going to be felt. You're going
mm,
to walk in your life with a set of beliefs and a set of narrative and thoughts that are, I'm not good enough. Why me? Maybe you put it down to fluke or luck. If somebody chooses you, you try to, constantly perhaps like choosing to find proofs that are outside of you to prove you that you are enough, and it's important to have a little look at what is going on in the brain in terms of the narrative and the belief
mm,
that we carry with ourselves every single day.
mm. Yeah, yeah, absolutely agree with you. Yeah. And how does mindset shift sort of influence your confidence and your authority in the industry?
The mindset I feel is very much like a practice, and it is a way of being and living and breathing. And so when you have an awareness on how your brain works and you understand and you can see the thoughts and you're realizing that your thoughts are not you, you're not identifying with the thoughts and you're looking at the thoughts and you can go, okay, this is what's happening here. This is a thought. This is what I'm, what's happening, but this is not me. So if a thought comes up, let's say, that says, who are you to go for this job interview, let's say, you know, then in your mind you've got to realize that this thought is not you, and you've got to prove yourself wrong. You've got to actually, instead of buying into those limiting thoughts and thoughts that are not going to help you move forward or get you the vision that you want, if it's not aligned with the vision that you want, you've got to challenge those thoughts. You've got to ask yourself, no, like, why am I qualified? Why am I good enough to go for this job? Why should I believe that this is for me and I'm meant for that? So it's constantly reframing, being aware, not identifying with the thoughts, to build that strong mindset and be
Mm,
resilient with that.
yeah,
Mm,
yeah. Our thoughts are not real. Our thoughts are what we give it, whatever we give it, a meaning we give it is what it becomes, right?
yeah,
And that's from an old program, an old computer program that hasn't been updated for a long time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And all the things that have happened and like that have happened in your life and my life have been in that program. And if we keep drawing on the information from that program, then it's obsolete, and we're not actually looking at the latest version. So this is where upgrading your mindset is so important,
Mm,
and doing that. Yeah. Can you share a personal example when you had to consciously choose yourself and step into your power?
mm. I remember that time where I was working in the corporate.
Mm,
I worked in the corporate industry for 8 years. I didn't like the job, to be honest with you, but I stayed there until I realized that this was definitely not for me, and that was not a job that I wanted to pursue. But I was at the time managing a team of managers, and there was an opportunity to be a senior manager. And of course, part of me wanting to do it, and I was very attracted by the money. And a part of me felt like a fraud. I felt like that I was going to be found out, that people are definitely not going to choose me for the job, that maybe I haven't proven myself enough, I'm not good enough, I haven't performed enough, all kind of thoughts. But that moment, I remember, I thought, you know what, Sabrina, just do it. What's going to happen? The only thing that is going to happen is your ego might get hurt. That's it. And I remember that, and I try to remember, like, to remind myself of that exactly for everything that I do in life. What is the worst that can happen? And it's all the experience. It's all in the ego. It's all in the mind and in the body, of course. But it's an opportunity to heal, and it's an opportunity to also, challenge ourselves. So I went for the interview, and I was shaking, and I was like feeling really scared. But then I remember that feeling, you've got to do it for yourself. You've got to choose yourself, and you've got to have the narrative of somebody that is really confident, that of course I've performed so many times in my job. I've created so many results. So instead of focusing on maybe the stuff that I haven't done and I could have done, I focused on everything that I've achieved, all the praise that I got. And I went into that interview with that mindset and that energy. I didn't look down. I looked at my manager in the eye. I just used my body as well as a way to feel more confident. I used words that was more, you know, words that were more kind of have that energy of confidence. Um, I I just went to the interview feeling like, well, I'm gonna shoot myself, and this is, I'm worth that, and I can do it. And that energy was felt, and I got a job. But so that was I proved myself something at the time. Even though
mm,
these days I'm not, I'm letting go as much as I can from this proving oneself. You know,
yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So,
So so you spent 8 years in corporate. I spent about 25 to 30 years in corporate, and I've only just realized that I don't want that anymore.
wow. No.
And
Yes.
yeah, and
You,
yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. Sorry, you go.
sorry. I was saying you're so like talented, and you've got so many gifts and superpowers, that it would be a shame to not kind of share it with the world.
Exactly, and that is exactly what I'm doing now. Is through my
Yeah.
podcasting, through the work that I'm doing with helping people in their uh, in their journey of restructuring, change, redundancies, is helping people really discover themselves, and which is why it says discover and unleash your potential. Discover who you are,
Mm,
and unleash your potential. Yeah. What are some of the
mm,
common mindset blocks that stop people from becoming the chosen expert?
mm. What I come across very often is the fear of inferiority.
Mm,
So many people compare themselves, even though they think that they're not comparing themselves. You know, it is part of our DNA. You know, it's part of our programming to compare ourselves, making sure that we are safe. You know, we mirror each other. We try to make others feel safe. You know, this is part of our programming to compare ourselves. Now, you can compare yourself and from a place of, you know, am I safe? Is that okay? But when it starts to become, um, you know, chronically comparing yourself, and then it sends you on a spiral of doubts and self-abuse sometimes as well in the mind, you know. Who am I? Look at those people, they're more successful than me. I'm never gonna compete. This is not me. This is never going to be me. Uh, Comparing themselves so deeply that it can very become an ingrained pattern of people where it becomes just their way of being and feeling on a day-to-day basis, comparing themselves on social media, comparing themselves with their friends, comparing themselves on TV, comparing themselves with anything, you know. And it's very, very dangerous because when you start comparing yourself, you are losing the
mm,
self-trust, you are losing the self-respect, you're losing your power ultimately. And
mm.
it's really about embracing who you are or learning to embrace who you are and to appreciate who you are, your uniqueness, your gifts, your quirks, your weird traits, your everything that makes who you are is to be
Mm,
celebrated.
mm,
And so you don't want to be a copycat. You don't want to start talking like other people or start dressing like other people. You start, you know, just to feel like you fit in. So the art is really to learn how to shine bright and to be who you are, to celebrate yourself and to be really proud of who you are. And,
mm.
you know, this is the best gift we can give to ourselves, really.
Yeah, yeah,
So this I would say this is like the number one. It's inferiority, comparison, feeling like an imposter, feeling like you don't belong, that
yeah,
you're not qualified enough.
yeah. Yeah, you're so right that it is comparing yourself and all those things that you just talked about, a form of self-abuse. You are abusing
Mm, mm,
yourself, you know,
mm,
and uh, and we don't need to be validated by anyone else. The only person that validates us is us. We don't need to compare
mm,
ourselves to anyone. The only person we should compare ourselves to is ourselves yesterday. Am I
mm.
better than yesterday? You know, and it's that saying of, am I 1% better than yesterday? You don't have to be 100% better than yesterday. Just 1% is enough,
Exactly.
right?
We
Because at
are
the end of the year, you're going to be 365% better.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah, I think it's worth remembering that we were born compare like asking for that validation as babies. You know, this is the programming. It's am I safe? Is that okay? Am I doing the right thing? You
yeah,
know, should I do this? Should I do that? How do I speak? You know, so it's interesting because once your parents are not responsible anymore for your growth, it is up to you to kind of break free and then start to parent yourself. So you're taking the job of your parents instead of still seeking that validation from externally. It's learning, yeah, how to do it on your own.
yeah.
Mm.
There's a model a modality that I learned, or a model called the adult growth model. I'm not sure if you're familiar with
Mm.
it, but
Ah.
there's four stages of that adult growth model, and there's a functional side and a dysfunctional side. Um, so there's reliance, there's rebellion, there's results, and then realization. So as a baby, you can't change your nappies, you can't feed yourself, so you rely on your parents. Um, then if the flip side to that is, as an adult, if you're relying on someone else, then that's dysfunctional. At the teenage years, your brain's reforming, you become rebellious, and that's functional. But as an adult, you rebel, and that is a dysfunctional. Then you come to the result stage where you start to see results, and a functional result is like, okay, I'm not liking what I'm seeing here. I'm going to have to make some changes. You come to the realization. That's the next stage. But as an adult, you see results, but you choose not to do anything about it, and you come to the realization that, it's like, as Einstein said, if you keep doing the same thing, you're going to get the same result, right?
Absolutely.
So, so it's so important to become self-reliant, and to look at what's going on for you. As Tony Robbins says, life
Mm,
happens for you, not to you. And
mm-hmm,
it really does. Life really does happen for you. The
mm,
opportunities that you took to make your own opportunities, right? Um,
mm.
if we're always waiting for someone else, we'll be waiting for a long time because
Absolutely. Yeah.
we're seeking validation from someone else that I'm good enough, that I'm a good enough to be a good leader. I'm good enough to have this job. I'm good enough to be this person. I'm good enough to be a business owner. But if you believe in yourself that you are amazing and you've been given
Mm,
the gifts and the talents by God or universe,
mm, mm.
and that's all you need, and you just nurture that stuff and believe in
Absolutely.
yeah.
I think like this like qualification like this is so interesting because we often talk about not feeling qualified enough to, let's say, go on a podcast. Who am I to go on this podcast? Who am I to, to have those conversation? Or who am I to speak on a certain topic? But, like this is in the business world, but in our day-to-day world, I remember a time when I was like 20 going to this party and feeling like I was not qualified to be in that party. I looked at around like somebody brought me to that party. I didn't know many people there. And I thought, who am I to be here? These are not my people, and I felt really out of place. I felt like I didn't belong here, and I was comparing myself and feeling like, well, those people seem so much like more switched on in like politics and music, and look at me, like I've got no, like I know nothing about politics and like music, and I felt really out of place. So it's like it's not just business; it's really like how do we feel in our bodies everywhere we go? Do we feel like we don't belong? Do we feel like we're less than? Do we feel like, that we have to justify and prove ourselves to play in our own
Mm,
playground?
mm,
Because at the end of the day, this is our own lane. This is my lane, and you've got
exactly.
your own lane to play. But sometimes we feel like we have to apologize for being in our own freaking lane.
Yeah,
You know what I
no,
mean?
no. And like this podcast is 2 weeks ago was 1 year old, and and I remember starting this podcast last November, and for years in corporate world, I was told you talk too much, you need to shut up, and blah blah blah. Blah. And then I went, I found my passion, and I went, no one's ever going to tell me to shut up anymore because this is my thing, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah. And um, the thing is, what it comes down to is those people that tell you to shut up, they have their own insecurities, they have their own fears, their own traumas that they haven't healed through. And and this is where coaches like yourself and myself can help these people really discover themselves, unleash their potential, and
Hmm.
be the person that they're meant to be in this world. Yeah.
Mm,
So
mm.
a lot of people suffer imposter syndrome, right? And the fear of judgment to hold them back from standing out. What are some of the strategies that you recommend overcoming these barriers and showing up with an unshakable confidence?
It's a great question. I think, like to be honest, we've got to say as it is. People are judging. People are
Mm,
constantly judging you. So let's just like admit it that always there is always people who are going to judge you. This is just part of the human brain. Like people are going to judge you. They're going to see you quickly or hear you and make a quick judgment. That's it. There's nothing you can do. So I think knowing that and accepting that can relieve a lot of pressure because you don't have to please anybody. You don't have to change yourself to avoid criticism because whatever you do, whether you're whatever, you think that you're the best version of that you won't get criticized, people are going to judge you and people are going to criticize. The easiest thing to do is to just be you, right? Now, when it comes to unshakable confidence, I believe that in order to really feel it is to allow yourself to practice emotional bravery. When you repeat emotional bravery again and again and again, you are becoming more and more confident. Why? Because you are putting a gamble on yourself time and time again. You're doing it, you're feeling the fear, and you're doing it anyway. Now, I'm not saying that you have to feel the fear and not work on the fear, but you can heal the fear, you can heal the triggers, you can understand like where is that coming from, and at the same time you're moving forward, you're going over your fear, because once you've, I don't like to use that word, but I'm going to use that word with quotation mark, when you prove yourself time and time again that you are safe, that you've done something very scary, that you've put yourself out there, then you realize that really there's nothing to fear apart from people's insecurities that are put on you. These are not your stuff. These are your projection or people's people's stuff. This is nothing to do with you, and this is not your business what people think about you or don't think about you. So focusing on the vision, focusing on what you want, and using emotional bravery time and time again, showing up for yourself will give you that unshakable confidence.
Absolutely. Yeah. And
Mm,
you know, you don't have to prove, but you can show yourself, right? You
mm.
don't have to prove to
Yeah,
yourself,
show
but you
yourself.
can show
No.
yourself that you can do this. Yeah.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah,
and
that's a better word. Show yourself. I
show
prefer
yourself.
that. Show
Yeah,
yourself that you can do it, you know?
exactly. And the thing is, like you said before, people always judge us, and sometimes it's their, like I said, insecurities. Sometimes they're mirroring back to you what you might need to work on, you know. Um, but take that as a constructive. Now, the other thing is we talked about fear. Now, fear is actually false evidence appearing real, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not real, but it's appearing real.
Mm,
But you can also face everything and rise, right?
mm,
Now, the way I'm think about fear is that fear is my friend. It's my companion. All through my life,
mm,
fear is always going to be with me, right?
mm,
And all it's doing is it's giving me a message and telling me what when you're getting to the edge of your comfort zone, fear is telling you, hey, just trying to protect you, right? Um, so if you just take fear as a companion and say, okay, thank you for letting me know that, and you just do it anyway,
yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah,
You just do it anyway.
yeah,
And it makes you feel alive, doesn't it?
yeah,
Then you get
yeah.
beyond that fear and you're like, yes, give it
Yeah,
to
come
me.
on,
Just
fear,
feeling
I'm
like
going to
really,
do this, and you're
yeah,
showing fear that you can actually do this, and what you're
yeah.
doing is
You
you're
know,
reprogramming yourself. Yeah,
exactly. It's a bit like going on a roller coaster, you know, and you have that fear, but you're still doing it. And it's the same thing. I think it's what makes us human, is to
yeah,
feel the fear and
yeah,
to go, this is a feeling, this is not you. This is
yeah.
just a part of you. And
Yeah, a few months ago, my daughter went to this adventure park and with her auntie, and she said to me, "Dad, can you come and join me on the zip line?" Now, I don't really like heights and stuff like that, so I said, "Oh, okay," and I felt the fear, and I'm getting strapped into this thing, and I'm looking ahead, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, what am I doing here?" You know? But I just composed myself. I just regulated myself, and it was actually a lot of fun.
yeah,
But my 10-year-old daughter was challenging me to go on this thing, and I was
I
fearful,
love that.
but I did it anyway. And I showed myself, and I showed my daughter that I can do it. Right?
Oh, celebrating you big time here. It's, I think when you're a parent, and I am a mom as well of a nine-year old, um, it's almost like a duty, isn't it, to show that we can be fearless and to
Yeah,
be the fun person. It really, so the amount of times that I've done, you know, where I could have been embarrassed or could have fallen or could have messed up, you know, thanks to my son, you know, like just doing it anyway, going like, oh fuck it,
yeah,
let's just
exactly.
let's just be
Yeah.
human.
I mean, on Monday I went to an event which was this guy called Dale Beaumont, and after the first session he said, I've got some whole lot of tech tools that I can provide, but I want you to post something on your social media and tag us in. And so I went up to him at the break and I said, I'm going to do one better. I want a video with you and I'm going to promote you and be on video. And he went, oh, okay. So I did that and posted it straight away. And I don't think anyone else did that, but I just took that courage, that bravery to
Yeah,
go,
the
hey,
bravery.
I'm just going to do something different and put it
Yeah.
out there, you know?
Oh,
And
amazing. I love to hear that.
yeah. So self-mastery um, contributes to attracting dream clients and achieving business success. Why is understanding your personal strengths and weaknesses critical to leading with authority?
The more knowledge you have about who you are, the more equipped you are at leading in your life. And self mastery, I find that really beautiful. I'm really passionate about self mastery. It's really creating the power and the force that is driving you forward from within. You
Mm,
know, it's the fuel in a car.
mm,
It's what it's the energy that drives you forward. And the
yeah.
more layers you can pull out. So let's say, for example, when you are um, focusing on self self acceptance. If this is your focus, you might have things coming up to the surface. You might have certain limiting beliefs that are coming up, certain words, certain thoughts that are telling you that, who are you to accept yourself? Like, look at your past, look at what people said, look at how you failed at that job, or look at how this your ex partner dumped you, and look at you. You're not worthy of really accepting yourself. You've had enough proof in your past life that are showing you that you can't, accept yourself. So why would anyone accept yourself? Um, and if you are working on that, and you are working on different aspects of self acceptance, and showing yourself that you are worthy of being loved and being accepted, then you will start to find the proofs or the signs that you are worthy of that, right? And so
The evidence.
when you
Yeah.
are allowing, when you are allowing yourself on that journey of self-discovery, of understanding who you are as a person, and that would take, you know, I often talk about like having dates with yourself. You have dates with your partner, you have, you know, dates with your children, like you see them and you spend some quality time with them to get to know them. You spend time with other people to network and understand who they are, because it creates a healthier and stronger relationship. But we don't often talk about having dates with ourselves and having some time where we are journaling, where we're asking ourselves the question. It's often overlooked. We are brought up to look forward and to not look within. And so when you are allowing yourself to have those dates with yourself and to find your strength and find your power, and I always imagine an onion with the layers of doubts and guilt and different layers of guilt, different layers of doubts. When you look at them and you peel them and you move forward, it makes you feel like really genuinely confident. It's not a
Mm,
fake confidence. It's you're genuinely happy. You're genuinely confident. You are breathing confidence and happiness and joy and pleasure. And when you are walking through life like that and through your business, things are feeling so much easier. Things are flowing. Things are coming to you. The most incredible synchronicities happen. You are having a easier time at manifesting what you want,
mm,
at attracting the right people to your life, at attracting the right, um, the right people is very important. Everything falls more into places. It's more flowing. I'm not saying that challenges don't happen, but when a challenge happens, you're not resisting it. You're surrounding it to it, and you are equipped for any challenges. And actually, these days, um, I do get through obviously challenges that can be really hard. I lost a friend this year, and that was very tragic. Um, and then at the same time, there is a lot, a lot of parts of me who are excited when the challenge comes. Because for me, I really genuinely think that, and I really feel that, and this is an opportunity for me to grow deeper and to feel freer. Because the more we can shed those layers and those doubts, the freer we become, and we can become um, emotionally naked
mm,
and feel totally safe being emotionally naked, and feel totally ourselves. We're not hiding anymore. It takes a lot of energy to hide and to
yeah,
only select a few parts that we want to show to the world.
yeah. Knowledge is important, yet it is theory, right? And
Mm,
until you put it into action, is where the magic happens, right? So you can have all that
mm,
knowledge in your head, but if you don't take action, then it doesn't create that confidence, because because consistent action builds that competency and then builds that confidence. Now, um, they say that humans we only use probably about 5% or less of our brain's ability on a day-to-day basis, right?
mm.
We've got all this information stored in our brains, but we're not using it. We're not, you know. And so imagine what we can do if we were utilizing and taking action on a lot of that information that we've got stored up in our computer system. And so I agree. Like my father said to me years ago, Anthony, go and have a date because I was always I need to be with someone, and my father said, just go and have a date with yourself. Go and have dinner by yourself. And it is so important because when you're by yourself, that's when you can reflect. When you can be one with yourself. That's when you can go internal. Otherwise, you're always looking external, right?
Mm,
So when you're
mm.
with yourself, that's in silence, and you're like you said, journaling or just sitting at the beach and just
Meditating or, yeah,
meditating or even reflecting on what's
reflecting.
happened,
Mm.
right? Reflection is so important. Then you come to the realization of all the things that you do have in your toolkit to help you. Um,
Ab- yeah, absolutely. It's
yeah,
really hard for people to have dates with themselves.
yeah, because
It's usually a
yeah,
date with themselves, but with a glass of wine. A
yeah,
date with themselves and the phone or social
mm,
media or
mm,
Netflix. It's
mm,
very hard these days for people to just be quiet and not have any kind of distraction because this is exactly what we do as humans. We try to distract ourselves. We do anything to not go within.
mm,
So a lot of
yeah,
people are addicted, yeah, to
yeah,
drink and different habits, even negative habits, and in order to not feel,
yeah.
right? Overeating, all of that. Mm.
All of the answers we're looking for are within us.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
like,
absolutely.
it's interesting because we say, well, we wish we came with a manual so we knew how this life would, how to maneuver this life. But actually, that manual it's within you.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I was thinking
It
about
is
that
within
manual. It'd
you.
be like such a big manual. It'd take
Yeah,
us the whole
exactly.
life to read it.
Yeah, it's within
But
you
yeah, it is
because
within us, we ourselves.
yeah,
Yeah.
your body knows about every single thing that's happened in your life. Your cells know about everything that's happened in your DNA, everything, your internal, because your whole internal system is a mind on its own. People think the mind is just in the brain, but it's not. The mind goes all the way through your nerves, all the way through to the little cells. Each cell has a little brain of its own.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So how can self mastery help with managing setbacks and staying consistent in business?
Like I think you mentioned that before, didn't you? The setbacks, you see them as opportunity, don't you? As
Comebacks. Yeah.
yeah, comebacks and yeah.
Yeah.
And when you have, when you have something that is challenging, that sets you back, and it's an opportunity to springboard and move forward again.
Mm,
Self mastery is an art. It's a way of being. It's a way of living. And when you practice it, and you've got an opportunity to practice it every day, when you have a setback, you're not in a place of victimhood. So you're not in a place of why me? Why is this happening to me? Oh, what am I going to do about this? You approaching it from a place of empowerment instead of disempowerment. You're like, great, okay, we've got this. Imagine if you are in the corporate, right? And there is a challenge that happens in the business, and you're all going on a meeting. So you'll be discussing it from a distance, and you'll be like, okay, what should we do? Should we look at that? Maybe we'll connect with that person. Maybe we'll send that email here. Maybe we'll wait a couple of days and see how that settles. Like you solution focus, and you come up with ways of solving the puzzle, solving the issue. So when you're practicing self mastery, it is a bit the same. You're having a meeting with yourself. You are detached emotionally from that. You're not the mistake. You're not the challenge. You can see it from a distance. You trust yourself. You've done it before. You trust your abilities, and you know that this is going to work out. It is going to be a challenge. But if we are approaching challenges as a game, it feels more exciting. You detach yourself emotionally, that's one thing. You regulate your nervous system, that's a second thing. And then you're just seeing it as a game. Of course, challenges are really hard. Some of them are. But on the other side of that, you would have learned something about you. You would have shown yourself how capable you are of overcoming anything. I mean, if we are looking at you and me and everyone who's listening, when we are looking back at our life, you think like, how did we do all of that? Like, how did we survive? Like, if you're looking at each little details, every single day, all the challenges that's happened, like, surely we've got enough. If we need proofs, surely we've got enough proof here to prove ourselves that we can achieve anything, and that we are so much more capable and able of accomplishing greatness than we let ourselves believe sometimes. So self mastery, yeah, it is part of self motivation, self compassion, self reflection, self driven. It's really like those different tools that you can use within self mastery to become the person who can achieve greatness from
Mm,
within.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Totally. Yeah. Um, if you do every day, we every second, every minute, every hour, every day, we are shifting our identities. We are becoming a different person from who we are from the last minute or second. And and you already have all this information. So, you know, you're evolving. If you're evolving, then you're set up for success. But it's when we stay revolving in those patterns or those things that have been happening over and over and over again, that's when the growth stops. That's when we are unable to move forward. But yeah,
Mm,
like you said,
mm,
we've got all that proof, we've got all the evidence that we need that we can do this. And
mm,
every time you do something different, which you didn't think you could do, all of a sudden you've changed your identity, you've shifted your identity because now you can do something that you couldn't do before. So
mm.
yeah.
I think it's so
So
important to see fears and to see what the fear that comes up with challenges, and to see problems and challenges um, not as a thing that we should avoid.
mm,
We should really see that, I think, as an opportunity to practice our muscle when it comes to fear. When you see babies and kids, they are fearless. They try
mm,
new things. They are completely delusional, and beautiful. And yes, I can do this. I can jump from here. I can do
mhm,
this. And as adults, we like kind of teaching them involuntary and voluntary sometimes, that no, just play safe, just be here. No, you're gonna hurt yourself and all of that. And of course, this is, I'm not saying this is you know, useless, like of course, because children can take massive, like silly risks sometimes, and we have to be there to make sure they're safe. But what I'm trying to say is that throughout our life, we are learning how to be fearful. We are learning how to not take risks. And then it's a physical thing, it's emotional, it's mental. And you end up, if you don't practice that muscle of facing the fear and learning, then you become like, you can become an elderly who is really so fearful about anything and everything that he's just at home doing nothing and just being scared of everything. I think it's a really like important practice is to not avoid it and to try to embrace it and to trust ourselves in that process.
Mm, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So, what, how can the listeners start to sort of reframe their limiting beliefs and create more sort of empowering habits in their lives? Like,
Mm,
yeah.
yeah, limiting beliefs are limiting beliefs. I mean, they're just beliefs, aren't they? They're just thoughts. They're just words that we create from the
Mm,
brain, and so they are first of all not who we are, and they are just. I think it's important to see that it's a way for us to be safe and to feel safe. They're not. There's always a positive intent in limiting belief, and ultimately it is to keep us safe and small and not taking risks and making sure that we're good. Um, the first thing to remember is that we are in control of that, and that we doing a certain type of work, we can dissolve the limiting belief. So, a way that I like to do is, first of all, obviously, being aware of it, being aware of the limiting belief. Of course, we can be aware of our own limiting belief, but having a coach is obviously so much easier because they can show us our blind spots. I mean, I had a session with a client today, and she said something, and it was so quick that it was not even a limiting belief for her, you know. So I was like, oh, hang on a second, let's go back to what you just said. Like, can you repeat that to make sure that I'm understanding? And she repeated the thing, and and then I was like, well, this is not what everyone thinks. This is what you think. This is not what I think. This is not what some people think. Um, so it's like really challenging ourselves with the belief. So if you are on your own, challenging yourself, not taking your belief as face value,
mm,
understanding that. And then I love reframing and I love asking myself questions to prove myself wrong. So, for example, if my belief is that I I am not meant to have a successful business, right? This is not for me, this is for other people. Then I would raise awareness to that and I would say, but why am I? So we usually think about reasons as to back up the belief, right? So if the belief is like, I don't believe that I'm successful, we're going to find any reasons and any signs as to why we're not successful. So it's about doing the opposite, really, is starting to show yourself why is the opposite belief true. Even if you're not feeling it's true yet, you're gonna go, okay, why am I successful right now? And you're like, fuck, that's gonna be hard. Okay, why am I successful? And doing that practice again and again and again, why am I successful until it becomes embedded. But then
yeah.
you also have to match the new belief with the
Action.
body
Yeah.
and the action. Yeah.
Mm,
So the action can also create like a somatic alignment where the body feels on board with that. Visualization is incredible
mm,
because whatever you visualize, the brain doesn't see the difference between what's real and what's visualized. So this is such a powerful tool that athletes are using and anybody who is performing like art, that is a high performer, they would use visualization. So you've got to get your body on board and you've got to visualize what it's like to, let's say, if the limiting belief is that I'm not successful, what does it feel to be successful?
mm,
What does it feel like? What do you need to think about to be successful? What do you need to say to feel successful? What do you need to do to be successful? If there's somebody that you look up to that is successful, just observe them. Not in a way to compare yourself or to feel less than, but to tap into their energy and get that energy in your body. What would this person do? And just try to flirt with that. Try to flirt with that energy and see how that feels in your body. Once you create the connection between the brain and the heart and the somatic, and you get that, then you just have to practice that again and again and again. Yeah, it's very powerful
yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Mm,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. One of the things that I've heard is that when you're in the jar, you can't see the label from the inside,
Yeah,
right?
I love that.
So yeah. So so often we can't see what's going on the outside. But the other thing is the cognitive behavioral therapy 3C method is something that I use, which is
Mm,
you catch a thought, you check it, and then you change it, right? And so everything you shared is spot on, 100%.
mm,
And
mm.
yeah, yeah. So could you share some tools and practices that personally have helped you in staying focused and aligned with your goals?
I mean, this is a hard one, and this is something I'm going to be honest with you. I've challenged, I found challenging, and this is something that I have to remind myself very often, even 5 years down the line in my business, even 20 years later in self-mastery. This is a practice that is daily because it's so easy, especially with social media, to um be tempted by other things, by have the shiny object syndrome when you do something nice and you just go off track, or you want to try something new, or you're getting bored with what you're doing and you want to refresh things and do something, and I can send you in a whole total direction. Um, I, for me, I need to be supported, so I've had coaches and mentors for the past 5 years to make sure that I'm on track, to make sure that I'm focused. I think accountability is very, very key. And you can have a big vision and a big dream. You've got to make sure that also it's easier when you have somebody who has your best interest at heart, who in the low moments can keep that vision up high and say, this is where we're going, remember, and remember your why. So for anybody who's listening, if they are not in a place to work with anybody, I would say the first thing is be really clear on your vision. Write it down, commit, create an oath. Number two, why is that really important? Why is that non-negotiable for you? Why is that? You've got to feel it in your whole body. It's got to be like visceral. And number three, you've got to create a plan. You've got to be able to go, okay, this is what I want, and this is what I'm gonna do every single day to move myself forward to that goal. And you've got to find like ways of remembering like where you're at and why you're here. So that why, write it down. I would write a whole page or two on the why. Create reminders, create calendar event, do some meetings with yourself. How am I doing? What's working? What's not working? Surround yourself. This is number four for sure. Surround yourself, with people who are going to support you, people who are
Mm,
going to cheer you on. Anthony, there's like I've listened to a podcast the other day, and it was about friendship with Stephen Bartlett, and I can't remember the person who came to the interview, but it was, how do you know, like, it was just a conversation. I didn't listen to it all, but how do you know that your friends are the real friends? And he spoke about how, some friends will be there for you when things are not working out for you, but when things are going really well for you, they're not there anymore, and you're by yourself. And I heard Oprah also saying something quite right. It's like if you have a friend that is just a little bit jealous of you, this is not going to be able you're not going to be able to have that as like her or him as a friend, you know? And so for me, what works really well is to be surrounded by people in my life. People in my mastermind, people that I select like carefully with my clients, people who are here to play big, people who are here to be accountable, to take
mm,
responsibility, to go higher, people who
mm.
are willing to hear the truth. And when you have people around you, you can't help but move forward. But when you have people around you who are not encouraging, who are belittling, who are mocking you, oh, look, Anthony, oh, his dreams again, oh, yeah, good luck. And you're like, okay, you don't want to have people like that around you because when the low hits, they're going to be there next to you, like comforting you. Oh, it's okay, it's fine. Just take the time that you need. You don't need to do it now. Maybe you just wait. And then you start to forget about your dream. You want to have people who are willing to go above and beyond for you,
Yeah,
you
it's
know?
important to surround yourself with people who who are already doing what you want to be doing, right? Who are already
Mm,
successful, because
mm,
they're gonna keep the momentum going, and they're gonna keep you motivated. And it was interesting because I was talking to uh, this guy Fong Chua on one of my episodes, and he said that there was almost like a competition going on between three of these podcasters, and one of them was doing like three podcasts a day, short ones, but he was doing three episodes a day, and he's in 1 year he's got something like 3,000 episodes or something like that. And
God, yeah.
and but Fong was like, oh, I've got I want to do better because I want to keep up with them type thing. So as I say, iron sharpens iron. Sometimes,
Mm,
you need people in your life who are just ahead of you because then they're going to keep you, um, you know,
mm, mm.
motivated and so on. Um, and and also they're going to challenge you, and challenges are great. A lot of people shy away from challenges. For me, I thrive on challenges. I love them. Like bring them on. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you so much for joining today. I've got a question for you. What does being a champion in your life mean, and what does it mean to have a champion mindset?
For me, it's really like again, I think it's showing up for yourself, showing up for yourself no matter what, no matter the challenges, no matter the signs that you're taking from outside that you shouldn't be on the path, that you should stop. It's actually a test, I think, from whatever source, God, the universe, that you have to pass to know yourself better, to get to the place that you want. I mean, this is like the champion mindset for me. It's an inside game, inward game, and it's really like realizing that you're so much greater than you let yourself to believe, and
Mm,
that ultimately you are safe. You know, um, like we were born with two fears, with the fear of falling and the fear of loud noises. Everything else has been learned.
mm,
So for me, having this champion mindset is realizing that ultimately, whatever I decide to do, I am safe, and that the only fear that I've got are in my head.
mm,
So I'm in control of that, and I can dissolve that, and I can choose to experience life differently.
mm.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. All right. I've got five quick fire questions. How do you define success, and has that definition changed for you over time?
Yes, absolutely. I think like, success, I used to think that, oh, this is when I'll have like 10K month, and actually it's not that at all. For me, success, I realized that it was just happiness and feeling joyful and feeling that I was able to experience life, um, feeling joyful and feeling free in myself. That is true success for me. Like when I compare myself now and in my 20s and in my childhood, um, I didn't feel successful because I was cluttered with limitation and cluttered with sadness and cluttered with depression, cluttered with limiting belief. And it was very, very dark. But when I managed to shed the layers and go beyond that and not identify with that, it comes from a genuine place of feeling happy and joyful. For me, this is really successful. Is to be able to be happy,
Mm,
like no amount of material stuff can make you happy.
mm, mm.
And it just comes from within. Like
Yeah.
the worst thing for me is to be held back by a big bag of stones that I'm carrying everywhere and not be, even if you have money and I do, you might do something, but if in the back of your mind, all you're thinking is that you're not good enough, that it's not going to work, and your mind, is cluttered, or people that are toxic or having toxic behaviors are living rent free in your brain, this is not freedom. And so
Mm,
this is not success for me. Mm.
absolutely. Yeah, I agree with
But
you.
it's personal. It's
Mm,
personal.
it's
Success
personal.
is
Yeah.
personal. Everybody has a different, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
yeah.
Who's been your greatest inspiration and why?
I would say Tony Robbins. I mean, this is the guy that I think changed my life. I mean, when I saw him, it really kind of ignited something in me. This guy is super powerful, and what
Mm,
he's gone through in his life, and the way he shows up on stage, and the way he can help people break through there on stage with NLP and coaching. It's just amazing. And I wouldn't be here, I think, if I
Mm,
didn't meet that person online, and see and see his work.
mm,
And I really love Tony Robbins. Yeah,
yeah.
that would be the person.
I think he's been an inspiration to me as well.
Mm.
And got the same name, Anthony. So
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
And yeah. What is something that you believe that others may disagree with?
I believe, okay, so I'm going to try to formulate that. I believe that life happens. I know we mentioned that, but that life happens for us and not to us.
Mm,
And I know a lot of people would disagree with that because a lot of people will straight think about, well, I didn't ask for my friend to die, or I didn't ask for this to happen, or I didn't ask for this. This happened to me. And for me, that was like one of the most epic changes in my life is to realize that I can take accountability and responsibility for the way I react, the way I think, the way I feel. Like I'm in control of that. Of course, I don't want to get too much into the rabbit hole because when we think about consciousness and we think about ultimately we don't have control. But from an ego perspective, I'm
yeah.
joking, if that makes
There's
sense.
a few things in life that are a given, right? Death is one of them.
Mm?
Taxes is another one, and
Mm-hmm.
unpredictable weather, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But everything else is so those three things are a given, but everything else is is open to whatever,
Exactly.
being molded.
Yeah.
Yeah. So life does happen for
Of
you.
course.
Yeah.
Of course. I'm not like. I think it's important to clarify that I'm not talking about control. Controlling life. That's not about that. It's about moving through life
Yeah.
and choosing how to surrender to it. It's choosing
Yeah.
how to experience it.
Yeah. The thing is, when we
Mm.
when we try and control something, it runs the other way. Also, um, like Bruce Lee said, be like water. When the
Mm.
water is in the water becomes a pot, right?
Mm.
When you're
Mm.
flowing with the flow of the river, then it's easier. But so many people are flowing against the flow of the river,
Mm.
and then they
Mm.
wonder why things are so hard. But
Mm.
sometimes we just gotta accept, let go, and surrender. Surrender from the
Mm.
outcome, and just let life take you. Because the thing is, we don't know. We might know. And I heard someone this morning where on a reel where this guy was saying, you know, I was believing for this much money, and then it didn't happen because the universe actually was thinking 10 times more than what he was thinking, right? So
Mm.
you've got to absolutely put the intention out there and believe it with all your heart, all your emotion, and then just let go of it and don't hold
Yeah.
on to the expectation, the outcome. Just let it happen because it will happen in its own time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like somebody said before, what you resist persists.
Persists. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
where your intention goes, your energy flows. So make sure that your attention
Exactly.
is in the right place, so your energy will flow towards that, and you can
Mm.
co-create with the universe. Uh,
Mm.
whatever you're wanting in your life, you can co-create
Mm.
it. It's something that I've had to go through a journey and learn over the last year myself. Yeah, yeah. If you could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be?
Oh, that's easy. That's easy. It's funny that you asked me that because I did a reel recently on my Instagram is about loving oneself. I know it sounds maybe a little bit cheesy, but I would say, hey girl, just love yourself. You're amazing. I would say to myself, like, I would tell myself the words that maybe I didn't hear when I was little, you know, and just give myself, my younger self, the love that she needs, and so she can trust herself and move forward, and just know that she's safe and everything will be okay. You know, it's very simple, but I really feel that this is maybe at the core of, yeah, at the core of the message that I would bring for her. Mm.
Yeah, yeah.
What would you do?
What is one message you'd like to send to the world?
Believe in yourself. Let's
Mm,
go for the cheese. It's true
absolutely,
though. It's so true.
absolutely.
Just
Yeah,
believe in yourself. Just give
yeah,
yourself the chance that you need. If you didn't get a chance from your parents or from people, you've got to give it to yourself. You've got to give yourself that chance. Keep going. Keep consistent. Don't forget your dreams. Like you can really do it. You can really achieve anything you want. Like at the end of the day, it's really up to us to show up for ourselves. No one else is going to do it for us. So it's about the belief, really, and having the faith, that things can happen, good things can happen.
absolutely. Yeah. Sabrina, it's been amazing chatting with you. I mean, we could probably chat for hours. But
Thank you so much, Anthony. It's been
yeah,
great, and I really enjoyed my conversation with you.
yeah, likewise. If people have been listening to this episode and they've got a lot of inspiration and they want to get in touch with you, how can they do so?
I've got a Instagram account, and it's Sabrina Hall official. So that's my
Right.
main one. I've got a website, Sabrina-Hall, HALL.com.
Mm.
That's where I am.
All right, we'll put those links into the podcast description so people
Amazing.
can click
Thank
on
you.
them. Yeah. And if you've been listening to this episode and you've got some insights and or you really want to get in touch with Sabrina or myself, please do so. And make sure that you share this episode with someone who can benefit from it. Share with your friends, your family, your workmates, even play it to your pets. They might even learn something from it as well. And lastly, I just want to say, make sure that you subscribe and follow this podcast so you don't miss any future episodes and we can get this episode out or the podcast out to the wider world. And lastly, I want to say you are loved, you are worthy, champion your life, champion your greatness, and have an amazing day.